Good morning, Matadors. My name is Master Sergeant Travis Kehoe. I'm representing the top three today and doing this Wingman Work Center video. The idea behind the video is just to give you a little bit of insight into me and try and teach you something here today. A little bit about myself. I've been in 21 years. I have had 9 assignments, 2 deployments, and here I am at Morone. So why are you watching it today? Again, I wanted to share something with you, something that you could learn. But it's one thing for me to tell you what I think you want to know. So what I did was I actually took a small convenient sample and I asked people, what do you want to hear? I asked all airmen, staff sergeants, and tech sergeants. I asked them, what do you want to hear? What's important to the people? Because I want your voices to be heard. And so there were several suggestions, and I chose mentorship, one-on-one mentorship. And I'm going to try and connect it to career growth. How do we grow in the military? We all wear the name tag. Okay, so for that, people want mentorship. They want one-on-one mentorship. But to understand what mentors are, how they represent, I'm going to try and give you a broad example and then try and connect with you on how I mentor. The type of mentors are traditional, reverse, peer, practical, coping mentor, and an identity mentor. So a traditional mentor is somebody who's older, who has more experience, that you can go to for ideas, just overall teach you how to become more like them. Then you have a reverse mentor. That's somebody who's younger, they're less senior, but they still have more experience in certain areas and you want to get to know more about that. A peer mentor is a coworker, somebody with the same rank who holds a similar level of responsibility, and they can share similar experiences, work issues. And a practical mentor, that's someone you might go to for advice. A lot of people who think about mentorship kind of think about practical mentors, in my experience, or that's what I used to think it was. There's someone that's going to give it to you straight and how to approach a problem or a situation. Then the coping mentor, these are our friends usually that we go to. They're someone that helps develop us develop a way to cope with issues or situations. They're great listeners, often pragmatic, give you good advice. An identity An identity mentor is somebody you identify with as like a group. You're a mom, or a single dad, a female leader. This is that person that you kind of want to be with, or be like, and that you have similar beliefs. So myself, I tend to lean on my traditional experience. I tend to, because I've been in the Air Force 21 years, I have a lot to give and a lot to offer. And a mentor should be able to share that information. How I do that is I go out and I talk to people. I offer my services to review their records. Just having a conversation, because that's what really a mentor does. You want to be able to connect with people, and how do you do that? Is it on the phone? Myself, I really dislike the cell phones, texting. I value more one-on-one conversations, mostly because I'm an introvert, and that's hard for me over the years, and I've had to develop not to be an introvert, especially when I wear the rank of Master Sergeant, and levy those experiences that I have, because I know people want to get to that level and I want to share that. It's mostly my drive to do that. Okay, so I said I review people's packages, and that's what I'm going to focus on today. I look at people holistically and their career, and where would they want to go. So to do that, I ask folks to send me their CERF, their EPRs, all their decorations, the citations, and if they've tested before, I'll ask them to send their test results for WAPS testing. And when I do that, I break it down in an email, and I will look at their total active military service date, I will look at their high year tenure, and I will look at their date of rank. I look at those because I'm trying to say to this person, okay, here's where you're at in your career progression, and everybody knows their CFETP has their career progression, but it gives me an idea, okay, based on where you're at, what typical averages are for promotion. It helps me judge or helps me guide you on where I think you need to go. The categories I look for are awards. Awards are hard to get. Not everybody gets awards. But I tell people generally you try and at least go for one award, at least, and have it reflect on your EPR once a year. This, you might not win every time, but at least you're showing that, like, hey, I'm submitting and I'm doing the right things to do it. The more you get older in your career, it's not so important about the awards that you win, but the awards that your people are getting. Well, a lot of people don't care about awards, and that's good, but it's my responsibility, it's your responsibility as a leader to recognize those good works. And some people might not appreciate those, and that's fine. They're introcentric. They motivate themselves by doing good work. They don't need those extracentric awards. The next thing is decorations. I tell people you should try and get decorations at every opportunity. It's important because those decorations stick with you for even when you get out of the military. When they're hanging on the wall, you don't hang your EPRs. So when decorations are generated, you want to make sure that the most important information, the most important accomplishments are on those decorations. And when I say you should get them at every opportunity, every PCS, every deployment, and if that means you try and write your own, come up with some kind of product, you give it to your supervisor, that helps them. Next I go PME. Okay, well, if I'm a senior airman, I should have ALS. If I'm a staff, I also should have ALS. Tech, you eventually start getting your NCOA. But there are other PMEs out there. There is the Senior Enlisted Joint PME for those tech sergeants, the number one. And for master sergeants, we should be completing the Senior Enlisted Joint PME number 2. Those are some of the things that are easily forgotten. And if you have any questions, just ask. Well, how do I get to those? Just ask those questions. We'll be able to help get any senior NCO should be able to help get you to where you need to get to those websites. I'll provide a link as well. Breadth of experience is the next thing I look at. When I look at EPRs, I'm looking for, okay, you're first obviously going to get to know your job, but are you stepping outside of your job? Are you looking to excel in that next career progression? I'll give you an example. In airfield management, we have coordinators, we have supervisors, and then you have your NCOIC of training, then you have your NCOIC of operations. When I'm reviewing the package of an airfield management personnel, I'm looking, okay, how long did they spend in those jobs? Have they covered training, or did they go straight from being a shift lead to being a NCOIC of operations and skip something? You want to cover all those bases because that's what's going to help you guide other people. Plus, it shows that you're willing to get outside of your comfort zone and keep driving, that you're well-rounded. When next I look for strats and FDs, not everybody gets those. What I do is I tell people, okay, you don't need a strat or an FD to get promoted. That's simple by just going on to MyPERS and looking at the promotion statistics for your career field. And you can see that those that get FDs, you'll get maybe 30% of the population that had promotes actually get promoted. It's just statistically, yes, those with a forced distro do get promoted, the majority of them, but there are still those that with FDs do not get promoted. And strats is the same way. Just because you get a strat, you're not necessarily going to get promoted, but it's that consistency. I just having a conversation with Sergeant Powcar the other day, and he said he knew of somebody who had gotten in the shirt career field. It takes literally like 2 strats in a row to get promoted. So there are folks out there that get strats and FDs that don't get promoted as well. Lastly, I talk about my recommendations. This is where I look at you as a whole airman, and I say, okay, this is where I think you need to go, and then give you an overall site picture. Okay, when doing these types of records review, it's hard because you're having somebody look at you and sometimes you feel judged, you feel vulnerable. I ask you to open yourself up, to have the humility to take that advice, and trust me, I'm not always the best at taking advice, but it does require a lot of self-awareness to say, yep, maybe I'm not where I want to be, but how do I get there? And that humility to ask one of those mentors that I talked about earlier to help guide you to get there. And you're going to have bad mentors out there, and that's how you don't want to be. And there's still going to be a mentor either way. Well, I've taken about 12 minutes and 30 seconds. If I could leave you with anything, is that be a sponge. I have this analogy where everywhere I go, I try and empty my cup of knowledge. And what that means is that I envision this cup, and it's full of all the information and experiences that I've ever had. And if I'm so pig-headed that I can never learn anything more, I think I know it all, I just every once in a while, I just dump that cup and I become a sponge again. And try and be quick to listen and slow to speak. Because if somebody tells you something, you don't want to say, well, I already know that. And if people try and if I tell somebody something and I feel like they're just saying, I know, I'm less likely to tell them something else because their cup of knowledge is full. They haven't dumped their cup. So dump your cup, a little bit of self-humility, and you'll find that right mentor for you. Just keep looking. It's hard, but it's hard sometimes. Let me clarify. It's hard sometimes, but that right person will come, and you just got to give it a chance. Thanks for listening.